First things first, since the last blog I did on Thursday night after the football Wednesday and A-team on Thursday, really I went through work looking very dodgy with my very long beard, having not shaved all week and generally just looking a little bit under par. As I told you, I'd been feeling a bit tired and everything, but basically got back to the Shire Friday night where I had a much needed shave and a bath and had a Chinese takeaway from down the road. Basically feeling much more on top of the world again. Sound a little bit hoarse at the moment, that's just because I haven't been up too long, but everything's all good. Spent yesterday watching the Tottenham match and then caught up with Jamie, Billy and Sam, which was nice, sort of just kicking it in the afternoon, had a chilled evening, and then I'm just about to go off in a little while with my stepbrother Jamie to write and record a song, so more to come on that once we've finished that all off. So that's the kind of general catch-up side of things. The other thing I wanted to touch on was sort of general blog stuff. Obviously a lot of you know I had a really bad winter, sort of months and months of getting unwell and struggling through work, and so I mentioned it in a couple of blogs. It really sort of knocked me sideways. Got through to about April, had my little trip to Mexico which really perked me up, started the new job, obviously changes as good as rest, and then sort of still wasn't quite feeling my normal self-confident person, so rolled into May and set up the Sunnier Days event, which was the first and a runaway success. And I think around that point with the British summer kicking in, it really totally was me sort of back to being normal, which was a nice thing really. And then partly for explaining that to us was then off the back of that I've gone pretty crazy socially. And a lot of my blogs, as you've seen, are about meeting up with different friends and having lots of drunken debauched nights out and nice little trips around the weekend and everything. Obviously I've touched upon I have been working pretty hard Monday to Friday 9 to 5, and also been doing a lot of consultancy around Hackney, the personalisation agenda, and Dislib with the toolkit that I've just created, doing my work with Tottenham on their committee for the DSA, and obviously a lot of the work I do around the JTSMA as well. So I'm just sort of flagging that I'm not just a debauched alcoholic, and obviously I do get up to a lot of other more serious stuff, which you picked up with the blog anyway. But the other thing was I haven't actually done a kind of generic wiser words article for a while, and I was going to write it all down today, and there's so much I want to say I thought it'd be better to just do it on a video and you can kind of see the passion I have on this, and hopefully I can explain it better as well than with the written word. It's sort of come off the back of a lot of news items in the week, so the next part of this video blog is to sort of touch base on a few of these things that I wanted to talk about. First thing being Channel 4 having launched their search for disabled talent to have presented in the Paralympic coverage in 2 years, which basically is an absolute thumbs up. It's brilliant news to hear those sort of initiatives are going on, and to be honest I'm already having a little bit of a look around for how to apply for it. You never know, it might be worth a shot. But beyond that, I think it's a very positive move to try and get that sort of area of disability onto mainstream TV. Obviously I hope it's not done in a tokenistic way, and that the untapped talent that they find can actually come through and end up going on to other jobs as well, not just be sort of pigeonholed within that Paralympic disability box. The other area is around the cuts that have been going on within the government at the moment. I don't think anyone could have missed it. It's been a pretty big thing since the Tories and the Liberal Democrats came into the coalition government. Basically where I come from it is obviously I did study economics, and I have a general, I hope, understanding and view on this from a bigger point of view, that when an economy is going into a recession, or it's not growing as it should be, but certainly as it goes to recession towards depression, the thing around Keynesian economics is what Labour did, which is to inject money into the economy so it increases consumer confidence, consumer spending, which creates more demand, creates more jobs, and it's a whole cyclical thing that money pumped in enables the economy to be propped up for that period. Now obviously we've seen in Greece, since the deficit had got too big, the whole economy was potentially going to go under due to the size of their debts, and they've had to take big austerity measures, which basically means they're having to cut and pay off that debt within an agreed time, just like you or I would if we had big credit card bills. So there is a balance, and I'm not denying that there needs to be some cuts, but the big economic picture obviously is that we're now, the facts are showing, approaching a double dip, going back into another recession, which will have larger negative impacts on the economy. And a country like United Kingdom would be able to afford to actually see those debts off if they had have kept pumping that money in for another year or so, just to stop the double dip. So bit of a shame on the kind of general economic thing, but the reason I wanted to pick up on it with the blog is obviously the cuts that are now coming in to the government budgets and the government spending is hitting disabled people. One particular area through a friend of mine, I'm hoping is going to write a guest blog about this himself to bring it a bit more to life and a bit more flesh on it, but essentially Access to Work want to cut his support. Now he works in IT, he has all of the knowledge around how to do his IT job, and his support workers enable him to do the physical things that he is unable to do himself. Now what Access to Work are proposing is that his support workers are basically doing the job for him, and that they want to cut his hours a hell of a lot down, and if he doesn't have that support with him, he feels like he won't be able to do his job and would have to quit. Now, obviously that just shows the short-sightedness really of you're making these quick cuts in that whole area, which is fair enough, but the knock-on effect is going to cost the government a lot more, because this mate of mine would quit his job, so he wouldn't be paying taxes back into the system. He'd then go on benefits to support his living, whether it be housing, food, general living expenses. He'd have to go on to the welfare state, but also his well-being and happiness and health would deteriorate over time, because he wouldn't be getting out, meeting people, taxing his brain a little bit more. So yeah, in the long term he'd probably become depressed and cost the state more on that as well. So while obviously there's the very human side of how out of order it would be, there is actually a bigger cost to the economy in the longer run. So I'm not quite sure where this sort of cut comes from. And the other thing obviously is around general sort of benefits and this whole bounty hunting and fraudster stuff. Now, the latest news, as you may be seeing, is that Cameron is proposing that credit card companies will be paid every time they shop someone in who's a benefit cheat. And the way they do it is they'd scan all of the statements of people's credit cards the way they do with a credit check, and then compare that to the lifestyle, such as if someone's meant to be on benefits, and if there's a disparity between the two, then it would look like the person's on minimal benefits but going on lavish holidays, or is going down the gym or something, where they would perceive it to be that they're cheating the system, and shop them in and be paid for that. Now, where this really galls me, to be honest, is the fact that and again, you might want to start looking at Googling some of the articles and some of the facts, because I haven't prepared the actual numbers on this, but I want it to come across the overall point of what's going on really, which is that if you're tackling a minority group here, and the amount that is lost to the government through benefit fraudsters is so minimal compared to this big supposed hole of deficit that we're trying to fill. So it's more propaganda and media. It's a quick win to say we're stopping benefit cheats, when the actual reality is that it's costing the government not very much in the first place. But the knock-on effect is that how will those people that do deserve benefits but maybe have a hidden disability, how are they going to be able to prove it? And that's going to be a very stressful time, wondering if they're going to have the money that they need for their disability to get on and live life. But obviously, beyond that, it's just the whole fact that there could be people that would want to apply for their benefits, but then they're now just put off by all of this scaremongering and making all the hoops too difficult to jump through. So it really is just not a very positive measure by the government when it relates to disabled people, when it's actually not the biggest issue they probably could be tackling in terms of why there is so much there. So I just wanted to kind of flag those issues. One other personal thing actually is I've heard that the ILF are struggling for their funds. Now the Independent Living Fund, the ILF, they fund half of my care package, and if that is to sort of continue to go downhill and they're to drop out of the system, then actually I would be 50% down on my care package. Now law-wise that would be on my local authority to cover that. However, they're already trying to sort of cut, or certainly not add money into the pot as we speak anyway. So quite if and how they'd be able to find another 50% of the money to cover me, I really don't know. But the longer term, if that is to sort of be the case, would be my care package diminishing, having to, pay my carers less or not be able to pay my carers at all. And then you're back into a situation with my friend at work, who obviously you can't do the things that you want to do each day, and you're moving into a sort of realms of, being unhappy and costing the state more anyway, but personally having a bit of a crap time with it. So fingers crossed that doesn't come off. Fingers crossed some of these things don't come as true as they seem to be at the moment. But I think for a lot of disabled people and non-disabled people, it's time to actually question some of these things. If you think of, the overall... Well, you may have noticed that last one got a bit cut off at the end by my mum coming in and my sister shouting out of the front door. Basically just wanted to finish off. I'm crouching down because I've had to put the camera on a side that's a bit of an awkward height, so I hope you can see me. But basically just wanted to finish off by saying how, back to the bigger picture stuff really, was that if you look at the whole world's economy at the moment, and you look at how many billionaires there are, and then on the flip side you look at how many individuals are struggling by all these deficits and cuts that are going on, and we're looking to nitpick where that's going to have the least impact. I do think the bigger answer really is to not just ask questions of why cut the disabled area, but also how maybe to redistribute some of that wealth that has been accumulated through the financial institutions and through sort of capitalism generally. I'm not on an anti-capitalist rant, by the way, but just to really, the bigger question should be, thank you for listening to my little political rant today. Hope it made sense and you got something out of it. It's more just to raise the awareness really, and I'll check in again soon. Bye bye.